Humping, and bumping, and thumping, and bumping, and. Humping and bumping and thumping and bumping and 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 humping and bumping and bumping and bumping and bumping and bumping and bumping, 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 bumping and bumping and thumping and bumping and bumping and bumping and thumping and bumping and bumping and bumping and thumping and bumping and bumping and bumping and bumping and bumping and bumping.
I wake up every day is a daydream. Everything in my life ain't what it seems. I wake up just to go back to sleep. I act real shallow but I'm in too deep. And all I care about is sex and violence. A heavy bass line is my kind of silence. Everybody says that I gotta get a grip, but I let sanity give me the slip. Some people think I'm bonkers, but I just think I'm free. Man, I'm just living my life, there's nothing crazy about me. Some people pay for thrills, but I get mine for free. Man, I'm just living my life, there's nothing crazy about me.
Bonkers.
I wake up every day is a daydream. Everything in my life ain't what it seems. I wake up just to go back to sleep. I act real shallow but I'm in too deep. And all I care about is sex and violence. A heavy bass line is my kind of silence. Everybody says that I gotta get a grip, but I let sanity give me the slip.
Bonkers.
Some people think I'm bonkers, but I just think I'm free. And I'm just living my life, there's nothing crazy about me. Some people pay for thrills, but I get mine for free. Man, I'm just living my life, there's nothing crazy about me. Yeah, man, in the floor now. Back then. I wake up every day is a daydream. Everything in my life ain't what it seems. I wake up just to go back to sleep. I act real shallow but I'm in too deep. And all I care about is sex and violence. A heavy bass line is my kind of silence. Everybody says that I gotta get a grip, but I let sanity give me the slip.
Bong, 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 bong.
Some people think I'm bonkers, but I just think I'm free. Man, I'm just living my life, there's nothing crazy about me. Some people pay for thrills, but I get mine for free. Man, I'm just living my life, there's nothing crazy about me.
All right, now, everybody, quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind. You're going to dance until your feet fall off. You're not able to stand up any longer. But we're going to have a show.
Hello, Mixer. How we doing this evening? Gonna be doing a somewhat simple dinner, but different from my usual stuff. A little bit more Mediterranean than the usual, more Asian American food. Gonna be doing some orzo. Got. Let's see, is this a pound? Yeah, we got some organic orzo, which is a type of pasta, looks very similar to rice. You've probably seen it in soups and other good stuff. Going to be doing that with the chicken that I butchered on Wednesday, or at least the dark meat from that. We'll do all the rest of it there. I used the chicken breasts already. Those are already gone. Do that, and we're going to stew that with some organic but canned tomatoes. I mean, yeah, you can find tomatoes now, and you can find tomatoes, hothouse tomatoes right now, but yeah, tomatoes aren't available right now. So canned tomatoes and canned olives as well. Not quite going the full, forgetting the term, or style, where you do Kalamata olives with tomatoes and a bunch of capers, because first off, I can't stand capers, so we're not doing that. But also, I'm using more standard fare, standard black olives, just because it's sort of homey to me. Anyways, so we'll get started with prep here for having everything ready to go ahead of time. I'm grab myself a can of olives here. I'm going to use the liquid from the olives, curing liquid, or the water that's in here. What we see, what we got in here. Yep, essentially salty water, so brined. Give the olives a chop and then have them set aside. And oh, hey, Trigger. It matters where I'm talking these days. I'm still trying to figure it out and get it working. If I'm talking over here, it sounds alright. If I'm talking over here, it should sound alright. But when I'm talking here, it picks up on both of them. So, still trying to figure out the different settings in order to get the one to take dominance over the other. Yes, I do. I have a silver blue Yeti right here that isn't very visible here. Blue Yeti and other blue Yeti. And so I haven't quite figured out the ducking and setting that all up. Well, they're both made by Blue, so they're both blue. Yeah, I lucked out with those. I got those really cheap on eBay. They're both used. That was probably a year ago now. Just do it without. I don't know how, well, I mean, these things pick up just about everything. I don't know. I know they're not going to be a perfect sit there at your desk mic. But for what I'm doing, I'm very happy with these. It's just a matter of figuring out how to properly do it when I know next to nothing about sound settings and sound software, and I'm just using basic OBS settings, which are pretty complicated in of themselves. It's just a rough chop on the olives here, and we'll throw these back in with the curing liquid. I just didn't want whole olives in the final dish. I may not use all the liquid there, but the liquid's gonna definitely go in. The majority of that liquid's gonna go in with the chicken here. That I'm peeling this onion now, it's feeling that sliminess, like it's just on the edge of getting nasty. But not there yet. I always hate that slippery membrane that I'm working on here that you get in between the individual layers. There we go. Ooh. Don't like the look of that. Pop that out. So how's your evening going, Sugar? What's new in your world? Any new food dishes you've tried recently? That's sort of why I do the stream. Always be careful cutting stuff when I hollowed out half of that onion there to get rid of all the nastiness. I'm gonna use a fair amount of garlic tonight. I'm in the mood for some garlic, and we're cooking with stuff in the right region for tons of garlic, so. I like garlic. I think it's a little overplayed. On the other hand, onions I absolutely fucking love. Want to put in even more things. I will say that I don't think there's a better smell out there than garlic and onions hitting the pan. Yeah, me too. I do a fair amount of that. It's been a while since I've done a French onion or something along that line. So the idea is here I'm going to have all the veggies ready because I'm going to go straight from heavy sauteing on these chicken bits here to heavy sauteing on veg, and I don't want to have to wait and cool down the pan and all that jazz. Tonight's stream's probably going to be on the shorter side because I'm just going to go for it. I'm not rushing anything, but I'm not slowing anything down tonight. Fingers always get so sticky chopping garlic. I mean, it's not horrible when you're chopping something that's small that have sticky fingers, but not very enjoyable. See, I don't do a ton of onions on my burgers. I'm actually probably more likely to do fried or baked heavily baked onions. At the same time, I do enjoy some nice caramelized onions with blue cheese. May have to be what I do with that burger meat that's in the freezer and the blue cheese that's in the refrigerator. Alright, so we got that. Oh, I believe me, I love me a black and blue. And smoky bacon, blue cheese, and piece of meat that's practically rare, just with a good crisp sear. Oh yeah. That may have to happen here soon. But the one major hold up on that is I don't have bread, and trying to not go to the store once again. Today is the last day I sort of had planned as far as pre-bought stuff, but I still have stuff kicking around the house. So I'm getting these onions all over the place. In the name of trying to be neat about things, I'm making a mess. Could be done, but I don't have good flour for it. I believe all I have is cake flour. Oh. Whole wheat pastry. Which, that will be remedied too the next time I go out shopping, but that has to be a weekday run. I thankfully have a local source for flour, apparently that has flour, so if you're cooking at home and you didn't stock up on salt, I've been telling people the latest thing I've been noticing is the price of salt is ridiculous now. So I'm just going to quick separate the legs from the thighs here. Yeah, I'm usually pretty good about having AP flour around home. I just did the timing wrong when everything else went haywire in the world. Set on just about everything else. Just about. Okay, do I want to do water for this, or I think I'm going to try and do low water method with this. I haven't tried doing low water method pasta cooking with Orzo being such a small pasta grain. It's much more likely this is going to give me a little bit more of a sticking issue. I'm going to add a bunch more fat in there with this, and see if we can't get them coated with a little bit of fat so that it helps when don't stick later on. Pre-bought. Oh, I didn't notice the basil and garlic. I wouldn't have bought these with basil and garlic if I knew they were in there already. I normally like buying my veggies unadulterated. Unadulterated. Don't think that's even a word. So, tomatoes. Switch over here so you can see both what I'm doing with that. I didn't realize you didn't see what I was doing on my board that whole time. And we'll switch it over here so you can see I've got the cast iron out. I've got all the chicken nicely butchered up here. Looking nice and ready to go here, although it's a little wet still. May have to dry that out before we get going with that. Hit all this with some salt. Pan on. I'm going to get the pan nice and hot here. Get the bedroom door closed. No, my plan is to sear it, and doing it in the oven is a great way to do it, especially if you've already got a hot oven on. But for me, visually, I'm going to do this on the stove. I'm going to sear off all the chicken, and I'm going to saute all these onions and garlic. Going to add in a little tomato paste into the action there, and then once that's all done, add the chicken back into the mixture, add the tomatoes, add the olives, and simmer that for a little while, and then work on the orzo and drinking the wine. But doing it this way allows me to have it all on camera the whole time. Doing it in the oven, you'll get a much more even cook on things, but ovens are not very efficient either. I mean, it takes a lot of energy to heat up an oven, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to use ovens. I use mine more than I probably should for that sense. Makes much more sense these days for all these smaller projects that we do. Like individual, just a chicken. I mean, chicken's pretty small when you think about it compared to the oven. when you've got countertop ovens that can do a much more better job and be much more efficient. Anytime there's an empty seat right there. No, please don't show up at my door. Actually, do that. So happy I got my Stream Deck back to working again. Not that it was really... It had been broken by an update. So I had to, first off, update it and update the firmware. But I also had to, for some reason, even though all of the buttons were properly set, I had to go through each one of them and re-select the same scene that they were already set up for. That's the advantage when it comes to cast iron, is heating them up. Is they cast iron, whether it's on your grill or you're using a cast iron pan, you want to heat it up. You want to get it smoking, because when you hit that meat or whatever on your pan, you're going to get that great immediate effect from it. But the difference between cast iron and, say, an aluminum or a stainless steel pan is when that cold, in this case chicken, hits the pan, that metal is not going to change temperature near as much because it's cast iron. And so it's going to take much less time for it to achieve its proper technique. So we get things nice and smoky like this right here. Even though this isn't even on full burner here, I wanted to get the whole pan nice and hot. This pan is still not as hot as I want it for searing, even though it's smoking. And it's because I can actually still hold on to this pan. This pan as a whole is warm, but it's not that warm. So that didn't work. Okay. I think we're getting there now. It's nice and warm. And I've almost got this down. I've got this down pretty far, and we're still going to get a decent sear on this, I think. I did on Wednesday. I used the chicken breast on Wednesday with rice, and then the rest of it for tonight. And the carcass is in the freezer, so that'll go into stock at some point. take the opportunity while that's searing off and clean up my other stuff here. Breaking down birds takes practice. More than that, it really takes knowledge, but I had a decent... you can find her on YouTube if you search about it, but I had Chef Chang at the Culinary Institute who would break down a chicken. I think she could break it down from living to in boiling water in pieces in less than a minute and a half. She was ridiculously quick at portioning chickens, and so I had a very good tutor when it came to that. But later on, through her help, actually, I went to China and went to China's top culinary school. And I mean, their daily routine is they show up in the morning and they slaughter 100, 200 chickens as part of their training. I mean, it's also part of, feeding the whole system, but well, if you notice, trigger in my info page down below, I am planning on getting myself a half pig here soon. It's sounding like my previous plans of ordering it are going to follow through, but that doesn't mean I can't just go to another butcher here. So. I joined a couple of competitions, and I've never been a good I don't have the quick memory rep. That is a lot of pork stock. It'd also be a heck of a lot of pork belly. I mean, for one guy, a half pig, yeah. Pork makes great stock. It's a bit milder than other ones, so people don't really, go for it as much. You're paying for your buck at the supermarket. You're probably better off just grabbing a vegetable stock. But if you're making it yourself, absolutely, it makes a great stock. It makes great flavor. mean, that's the whole thing with, you know, ramen, you know, pork belly, and the broth. Yeah, veal stock is sort of a trademark of the way our government handles livestock. Well, it makes it's sort of one of those rough realities of the world. But the fact is that most veal is being handled by dairy farms because in order to produce the amount of milk that we need in the U.S., you need to have a baby to produce milk. But the dairies have them, and so it's usually only the commercial businesses that then have the contacts to get the meat from the dairy companies. You can find veal meat. Actually, the meat's pretty much a little bit easier to find. You can find usually the nicer cuts of veal and ground veal at the supermarket, but that's more these days after we've had the forays of the natural markets and Whole Foods before Amazon took over it. So I gave this a clean up. I'm going to use this again for the chicken. I would be surprised that a college is using stock at all unless they're making their own, because I went to a community college and did culinary classes for a little bit before I got serious about it. And they didn't have anything but like minors, concentrates, and nasty stuff like that.
Just take these guys out a little bit here. We got some nice little golden color on them. Got nice and crispy crunchy going on. Set that off to the side here for a moment. Turn the heat up a little bit. And this is up a bit too high for these, so I'm going to turn that down now to just about the point where I hold my... Basically, I figure out where the temperature on my stoves are not based off of what's on that dial down there, but I figure out the point where holding a pan with water will keep a nice boil without increasing or decreasing, at all. Just that perfect boil temp. And then use that as sort of my mark for how I use it for everything else. Hey, wizard. How we doing this evening? So I think it's time to open me some wine. As well you should. That said, don't write about it on Yelp, because Yelp sucks. I don't know if you guys read, it didn't really make newspaper articles too much, but it definitely was all over Twitter about how GoFundMe and Yelp teamed up right after this coronavirus shut down all the restaurants and set up automatic GoFundMe campaigns for all of these restaurants that were closed without notifying the restaurants, without telling them. And the only way that you could stop them was to give them your employee identification number or vital, financial information that you don't really want to give away to a company without the greatest history. So yeah, there was enough of a fuss that they scrapped that, but they tried it nonetheless. So I'm drinking local made wine tonight. This is Rodney Strong Vineyards. I've drank one of their wines on stream before and greatly enjoyed it, although they can be a bit pricey for what I do consider supermarket wine at the same time. Oh, come on. Nice fake cork, but I think it's actually made up of ground real cork. I mean, it's got the feel. So, Old Vine Zinfandel. Hopefully we got some. I haven't read the descriptor on this at all. Let's see here. French and American oak, so there's probably some barrel spice here because of the American oak. Raspberry jam, black pepper, that's probably the barrel spice, and hint of clove. Not in love with the clove. They're not saying my favorites. Is small and somewhat fruity. Those have a bit of a nice zen bite to it. Nice and dark, but it's drinkable. It's a 2016, but bought off the shelf last month. Haven't haven't hit these onions and garlic with any salt yet, I don't think, so we'll do that now. Bit of pepper. Yeah, a little MSG. So did you finally get the pizza after all, you wizard, or are we still waiting for dinner 2 hours later? Oh, I was wondering if you'd gotten your pizza finally. Little Caesars offers contactless pizza purchasing. Only thing you may have to touch is the door to enter the place. I can see that. Okay, got some decent color here on our onions now. Got some decent toastiness on the garlic. Add our chicken bits back in here. Oh, I forgot. No, let me take the chicken back out here for a sec. Didn't add my tomato paste yet. Have to pinsage our onions and garlic. So, tomato paste. Good squeeze there. Like, was he actually wearing the actual, like, outfit? Has his sanitation or his barrier, or was it just that ridiculous of a get-up that's what you're comparing it to? Because both are equally bad. The weather here in California is beautiful as always, Jared. There's a little bit of a wind out there, but I'd imagine that I actually haven't walked outside other than to grab the mail today, so. Alright, let's see what other spices, if any, do I want to add into this at this point. Tonight's spices are going to include smoked paprika, onion and garlic powder, and dried oregano. Oh, that sounds like a fun project here. I've dealt with a couple of those myself. Dried oregano. Fair amount. We're adding a bunch of tomato and other stuff in here. This is sort of a small amount of, compared to the veggies that are going to be in this in the end. We got our smoked paprika. Garlic powder will go light on this. I went pretty heavy on the regular garlic. One of the funny things about garlic is garlic powder will give you flavors that garlic itself will not, and vice versa. So if you want to go for the full range, you need to have a little dried or powdered garlic around. So we got all of that goodness in there. Yeah, I wouldn't have any of the proper tools to deal with that. It would take me a week or longer. But then again, I'm out here all on my own. Okay, back with that and the chicken back in here. Now that we got our spices and tomato paste in there. Add all of the tomato and sauce liquid in the tomato paste. I'm going to add all of the actual olives. I'm going to see how much liquid I want. I don't know if I want to add all of that. Add a bit more salt in here. No, actually I won't. That was the whole point of using the brine. It's got salt in it. I am going to add a little bit more of the liquid in here. Leave it about there. And that should come up to a nice, yeah, it's already starting to simmer here a little bit. It's a bit fruitier than I expect my Zinfandels. Then again, lately it's been seeming like maybe I just don't. Maybe my opinion of what a standard Zinfandel is skewed. But quite tasty wine yet again. Not 100% what I was necessarily expecting, but this is going to be quite lovely with dinner tonight. Actually, we'll. Oh, I don't have one set up for that. No, still the same screen setup. I've been fussing with things. I changed around the logo coloring a little bit. Not that I really think of that as a logo. I actually sort of threw that together in a couple of minutes and just haven't come up with something more official. I've been getting more and more detailed in here with the Streamlabs setup with all the different features and goodness like that. People didn't know what my original alerts were to begin with, but my new alerts have changed. My follow is the same as it is right now. But toying with that stuff right now. Toying a lot with the audio right now. I still don't have the settings the way I want them to be. I can already see just... I mean, I'm doing pretty good when I'm facing one direction or the other, but I'm rather upset with how muddy it gets when I'm standing in front of the sink. And today I've been sort of trying to focus on not talking when I'm in front of the sink. Or if you meant I have a new screen, no, that's the same screen I've always had. I've had the screen that I'm using for my kitchen setup for probably 5 years now. It's barely a 1080. I mentioned that on Wednesday, but it's rough going at streaming with only one window for your one screen for your setup, because I mean you need your OBS setup. I mean I could do it with a 4K where you can do quad corners, but with this guy I can't do that. See how we're looking here. Get the pan a bit of a turn so it heats different areas of the pan, and different areas cooked, gets the whole thing a little bit more evenly cooked. Where was I with that? Yeah. I need audio help. I am not an audio expert. But thankfully, after an update and a firmware update and 5 or 10 minutes changing settings around, my Stream Deck's working once again. I mean, that way you get your close-ups. So I'm sort of riffing. I mentioned it earlier on the stream, but tonight's dinner, I'm really sort of riffing off of. I'm thinking it's Provençal style, but a very famous style of cooking where you're using fresh tomatoes, you're using Kalamata olives, which I'm not using Kalamata olives, and you're using capers along with whatever dish you're cooking. You know, it's in style of where you're using certain ingredients with it. This is obviously not that, but it is sort of stealing from that. So, just to let everyone know that I don't think this is a proper formal cuisine here. This is me. This is more me cooking from cans. I am tempted to here maybe do a simple, what actually might be, I don't have plans I don't think right now for Sunday, but might do a simple pasta with some peas and a cheese set up. I've got all sorts of cheese in the house right now. Could do a sort of cheesy mac with peas and bacon. I've got that all sitting in the house right now. And I do want to do that. I mentioned eWizard that I wanted to use up less that cinnamon roll. I think I might try that on Sunday here. I think I might try doing. I've got. Where did I put you? This guy that I made in February on stream. He's been sitting in the freezer up until earlier today when I put him in the fridge. And oh, thank you for pointing that out, eWizard. So I've got this cinnamon roll dough left over from February, and I'm going to keep that refrigerated, and I'm thinking on Sunday I can do thin slices of that and then sort of reconstruct it into a pie crust and then blind bake it like that. Uh-oh, Trigger, what happened? First it's trees, now it's pizza. Uh-oh. The last time I used a phone to order pizza, and it sort of put me off the concept of using a phone to order pizza ever again, was I ordered a large pepperoni pie using those words. And I think the other person on the other end of the phone took large pepperoni pie and turned that into large pepperoni pineapple. So it was a pickup order. It was a couple months ago. So I showed up and they offered me the other one with pineapple for free, and I turned them down on it, but Yeah, I'm not a big fan of pineapple. I'm not a fan of sweet stuff on pizza, just in general. I don't mind dessert pizza. That's a different sort of thing in my mind. That's intended to be a dessert that's intended to be sweet. And in other cases, I don't mind the mixing of sweet with savory, but pizza, it just doesn't work for me. So I got my pan here. Gonna add, I've got a oh, wow. Sorry for saying that now. Thank you for the host, Jamuna. Welcome. Got a pound of Orzo, organic Orzo here. And like I said before, I'm going to do that. I'm going to sorry about that, Jamuna. The bot got you. So I added a bunch of sunflower oil here to the pasta. Gonna try and get everything a little bit lightly coated here. I'm gonna add a little butter into this mixture too, just because, well, I'm not fat enough yet. But I'm gonna do the low water method here with the pasta that I normally do, where I'm gonna use dry pasta, 1.2 pounds per weight, water to pasta. So 1.2 pounds of water here, and salt it to taste, and then just cook it like rice. We got cheapo black olives. This is sort of canned cooking tonight. We got canned black olives, not even calamatas. And we got canned tomatoes with a little garlic and basil already in them. I've added oregano. I've added some seasoning. I've sauteed some onions and garlic that are sitting on the bottom of the pan there. And we've got the legs, wings, and thighs from a chicken in the pan. Working on our pasta to go along with that. Orzo pasta. It looks a little bit like rice, but this is pasta. And what I'm doing right now is trying to coat that with water, or coat that with oil, because I'm gonna use a low water method for cooking my pasta, and I don't want it to stick. I'll leave it here so you can see what I'm doing. Thank you for the host as well, Jamuna. You got cold pan, cold pasta, cold water. That's roughly a pound of water there. We'll go a bit over that there. Guess that's around 1.2. I'm going to add a hunk of butter and some salt into the pan. Peel our compostable skin off of that. Throw that in there. throw you up there. I already did a little bit of salt. Going to do a bit more, actually. Bit of black pepper. And like I said, I'm going to cook that right. So I'm going to turn that up to a level that I'm going to get it to a quick boil, but not ridiculous overboil time. I'm jealous. I'm hungry. I want to eat right now. I skipped lunch today. I think I'm going to be good without the last of that brine, so I'm going to toss that. Get rid of these cans. Be right back. Hopefully echo issues aren't too much of an issue for people. I'm still sorting out sound and setup here. I've got 2 mics going, and I'm trying to get them to get the software to try and figure out the difference between the two, which way I'm facing. Got this guy right here picking up me when I'm sitting here and cutting on the board right here, and I got this guy over here chilling in the corner trying to pick up my sauteing and cooking sounds. Unfortunately, when I'm over here cleaning, both of them seem to pick me up right now, and I'm still sorting that out a little bit, so I apologize for that. Put the spices away that I've got here that I threw in there earlier. I threw in with that chicken along with the tomato and garlic and tomato and olives. I've got a little bit of smoked paprika and some garlic and onion powder. And decent shake of some dried oregano. If you got dried basil, you've got dried anything along that Italian line, you got some savory or something along that line. That's all great in here right now. Quarantine cooking. Not that I cook whether it's quarantine or not, but any questions from anyone? Ask me anything. It's a scary question to ask right now with how many trolls are on Mixit the last week and a half here. Sorry about that. That might have been painful for a couple headphone users. I posted a message on my private Facebook, my personal Facebook, that to my family and friends that I was and I still am very curious to see what effect this has on people. Because while I'm sure some people are gaining weight, those people that are, you know, heavily active in their work or they're heavily into the gym all the time, I'm sure they're gaining a few pounds here and there. But I'm also sure that a fair number of people that have been, you know, living a life on fast food and all that are maybe doing a little bit better, maybe having a bit more home cooking and not doing, you know, if not eating less calories, eating better calories. Just be careful, look at the CDC's new rules about walking distances. Alright, Jamuna, I'll give you an update where we're at. I'm drinking a quite lovely Zinfandel this evening. This is a Sonoma-based Old Mine Zinfandel. It's got a bit of spice, a bit of punch to it, quite a bit of fruit, not so much of the funk or leather. I've got 2/3 of a chicken here. We got the thighs, the legs, and the wings here of a bird that I butchered on Wednesday. I used the chicken breasts on Wednesday with rice. Tonight I'm simmering these. I seared them all off. I pulled them out of the pan. I seared some garlic and onions. Added the chicken back into the pan. Added a can of tomatoes. Added a can of chopped olives. And then we're just letting this cook down and reduce. In the back here, I've got a severely undercooking, but a pan here of butter with Orzo pasta. Looks a bit like rice, but that is pasta in the pan. I'm going to be cooking it like rice, though, because the last 2 or 3 years I've been cooking pasta more like rice when it comes to dried purchased pasta. Fresh pasta, you still need the nice big boiling pot of water. But dried pasta, you use cold water, cold pan, cold pasta. A ratio of say 1 pound of pasta to 1.2 pounds of water, and bring it up to a boil. Let it sit for 10 minutes like rice. You got great cooked pasta. Maybe stick a little bit more than you're used to, but it's still going to pull apart just fine. It's not going to be heavily stuck together. And today, because I'm working with Orzo that's even smaller than usual, like rice grain, I made the extra step there of coating it all with oil before I got it cooking. I've cooked with quinoa before, and that'll probably make a return here in my kitchen. I don't do it too much. It's a pretty heavy grain. I mean, it's a big and popular grain with the vegetarian crowd because it's got a decent portion of your protein. I've done both red and white quinoa before, and they're a good side. That's definitely been on my list. I haven't gotten into it, and it's more been put off here by recent events. But yeah, I can't. I'm so upset that. I mean, this has sort of ruined my whole beginning to spring here. I mean, I now know that we have asparagus popping up. I mean, Jamuna was cooking asparagus this morning. It drove me nuts because I know it's available at the farmers markets. I'm seeing the pictures on social media, but I'm not going out. I'm not leaving the house right now.
And I want to have that stuff here on stream for you guys. I want to have that fresh, amazing Sonoma asparagus. I want to have that amazing local strawberries that are, I mean, like blood red, and completely blood red all the way through. And that's sort of a shame. We're all sort of locked in at home right now. But in the future, I'll have that stuff for you guys once I either start leaving my house a bit more or we start having things open a bit more. Here in California, we're talking late May, early June for our peak as far as infections in Sonoma. So we've done pretty good at slowing things down, thankfully, but it does mean that I'm probably going to be locked up a bit longer than many other people.
Okay, we're getting a bit too hot here. Turn the heat off for a moment. I'm going to add some more water to this pan. Yeah, it's sort of strange, this whole everyone going out and buying everything has sort of wiped out several crops until we get the next year. And so we're probably not going to, at least here in the U.S., most of our beans have been sold out. Most of our rice has been sold out. I mean, they're both major crops, but they're not major crops here in the States. So it's probably going to be a better part of the summer until we start getting those back in full force. And people are going to be bitching and moaning. And I can easily see quinoa being one of those. I do have a source, thankfully, a local source here for getting myself some flour, because that is something that I'm missing right now. It is available to me, so I haven't made the leap to go out and get it. I'm waiting for me to have a reason to leave the house. But I'm going to pick myself up some AP flour here. But they're also my normal source for semolina. And they're completely sold out of semolina. I mean, that's the local distributor here. So the local distributor here to Sonoma County doesn't have semolina. Which means local restaurants, pizza houses, pasta places, they don't have local fresh semolina pasta right now. Unless they have, I mean, I would figure many of them probably have a couple bags sitting in the back room, but I mean, they don't have a source once that runs out. Oh, I'm being Mr. Doom and Gloom. I'm always Mr. Doom and Gloom. Hey, I lost my bottle here. It's a pretty big glass, but I probably could have fit that whole bottle in this glass. But there's going to be some amazing stuff that happens out of this. I mean, people are complaining about their kids being home all the time, but the reality is it's giving people a hell of a lot more family time, and it's giving a hell of a lot more creative time to families. And so there's going to be a huge creative boom out of this. These kids are going to be creative junkies compared to our average generation. I understand it in frustration in the moment, and a lot of people post things without a filter. I'm guilty of that myself, especially politically. And so, it's. I mean, people get frustrated with each other, and you sit in the same house. I mean, we're having the same issue. we're having, you know, the largest, I mean, to go back to doom and gloom, we're having peaks of home violence right now because everyone's stuck at home together. But, I mean, sometimes marriages aren't exactly, you know, a happy situation. Sometimes they're arranged, sometimes they're, you know, based around the children or something along that line. So... worried that Orzo isn't cooking properly because I wasn't thinking when I put it back there. That's my smallest burner, and it has a little bit of an issue of getting enough heat to things. Yeah, that's a rough one. I'm not a parent either, and I'm talking about a situation. Yeah, both of us are talking about a situation that we don't have ourselves firsthand. So I don't know where it's late for you, man. I have the excuse that I'm drinking, so. It's very interesting coming out here at the end here. I'm getting a bit of leather and no tobacco, but a bit of leather. But this has had a decent amount of spice. I'm typically not a huge American oak fan. I find myself much more of a French oak fan when it comes to wine, and this one's had both. It's very obvious that it's had American oak. But at the same time, it's not been unbearable. It's been a decent heat to it. Sort of feel that way about most of my white wines. I tend to only go for the French whites because, or European wines, but primarily French whites because, and I think it's primarily because of the wood. I think American oak is just too harsh to. I mean, it's okay for, you know, whiskey. I love whiskey too, but when it comes to wine, I think it's a bit too harsh, a bit too spicy. Our chicken's looking lovely. This is certainly cooked through here. We're just coasting, waiting for this to cook. Turn that down a slight bit. Try and keep it more like a simmer than a boil. Am I talking? Oh, you mean this guy back here? Yeah, I've had him for quite a while. I bought him for my business 2-3 years ago. It's got, when I turn my screen off, it's my main picture in my stream. You got my name, Jason Taylor, obviously, but this is Chef JT in green. And then we've got Mixer logo, sort of. Got a little purple in there. You got Twitter with a little purple in there logo. Instagram and Facebook. All hand done with, if you're familiar with liquid chalk, great little product, little pen markers. They're expensive as all get out, but they're how you make those nice neon signs you see at all the mom and pop shops. Oh, it's pretty small. I should have probably done this to let you see what I'm talking about. But yeah, you can't even hardly see it like that in my screen here. But so it's probably pretty small on a phone or an iPad. But yeah, it's just on my social info. It's just showing that. It's the way to do it, man. I've been watching nothing but like cooking streams that I can find here on Mixer. There've been all sorts of people doing cooking here. I'm sure there's unfortunately all sorts of people looking for something to do these days. And a lot of them have been joining up or coming back to do cooking, and that's been interesting. I've had people to host up pretty much 24 hours a day if I didn't want to sleep. Sort of good and bad. I mean, because obviously want more cooking streamers, obviously want more people doing food and drinking. At the same time, don't want competition. Let's see here. Let me check something. Yeah, it's at the same time, it's nice seeing all these other people doing streaming. I've seen some very cool family streams starting now that have been a lot of fun to watch, you know. Still not at a boil back here. We're feeling pretty warm on the pan though. Okay, I'm gonna cut the heat on that. Gonna let the pasta sit another 10 minutes here. Well, you saw E-Wizard in here earlier. He does He's on the East Coast of the States, and so he does streaming early morning Sundays. So probably, actually, roughly around the time you were streaming this morning, but he does it here on Sunday morning, so I don't know if that matches up time-wise with you. And then we've had a couple of chef streamers that are more gamer streamers these days come back and do a couple of more. And as always, we've got, she usually hosts me, so I'll give her a plug here. Mrs. Toggs is usually doing some nice, wholesome family streams, although her streams are typically sort of sporadic and maybe 30, 45 minute long things, you know, breakfast with the kids, dinner here and there. She's doing food and then moving on. So there's a decent number of food streamers out there. I think I'm of course biased, but I think I'm the most focused food streamer we have on Mixer, but I gave it a good 2 or 3 attempts at doing some Planet Zoo streams, because I've been hooked by that game the last week and a half here or so, but yeah, I think I'm going to stick to just only cooking time here with Chef JT. Smelling lovely over here. And of course, this is one of those dishes, with the exception of the chicken you can overcook, obviously. But the onion, the tomato, the olives, the garlic, the more you cook that, the better. More flavoring you get out of it, the sweeter it'll be. So. Yeah. I don't think many people will do focusing on. I mean, I'm sort of an odd case. I'm a little bit of an oddball. I've spent my whole life sort of, focused on food, and so even though I've had my childhood where I was hooked on EQ and Tribes and stuff like that, it's sort of rare for me to jump onto a video game these days, and so. At the same time, it makes sense for cooking because, as I said in my info down below, I've been doing cooking like this for years, and I've been taking, a couple of photos a week of my dinners and posting them up on Instagram, whatever. And so this is sort of like a natural progression with that. I have no interest in doing video editing, but there is that potential avenue too. Thank you. The vast majority of it's all been filmed right here. You'll notice this knife and that board and most of it. You're killing it too, though. I mean, that fish this morning was, it was a little early for me to be doing fish, but you killed it with that fish dish this morning. That was probably yesterday for you. Yeah, I found myself a decent place here for, at least I think, for buying seafood. So I might do a bit more seafood here now, especially with the changes in the local meat industry. But we'll see. I am, but I'm not. I mean, as the crow flies, maybe 20 miles, but it's more like an hour drive to twisty, turny side roads. Sonoma County does have Bodega Bay, which is one of the better known, like fishing bay areas known in California, but it is rather small because it is rather rural. We get a lot of local salmon. We get a lot, we have both river and Pacific salmon. But the major thing that we get a lot of is, I'm going to mention it and I forget what the name of it is. Wow, I'm completely drawing a blank, but there is a fair amount of coast in Sonoma County. So in my county, there is a fair amount of coast. It's not very convenient to me, and what is available to me is rather rural. We apparently have Chinook salmon in our rivers. There's several lakes in the county. I'm Googling stuff now. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's a shell. Anyways, I'm forgetting the name of it. I'm absolutely drawing a blank on it. But there's a type of shellfish that's well known in the coast here. We've had a couple of years here where you haven't been able to harvest it. It's a little like an overgrown oyster. Or sorry, like an overgrown scallop. In that it's got one giant mussel with a giant shell over the top of it. No, it's not St. Jacobs. It's going to drive me nuts until I can remember again, and I'm not going to do a search here forever. It's one of those animals that is usually in pretty turbulent waters, and we have some pretty rocky coastline here. And so there's usually every couple of years someone passes away trying to harvest them. But That's gonna drive me nuts. I'm gonna be looking that up later tonight. Alright, let's see here. Our pasta is probably done at this point. Let's give this a stir here, see what we got. Still slightly sticky, but it is feeling relatively cooked through. Yep. So I'm going to add all of that in. Well, let's pull the chicken off of this first. Pull the chicken out of the pan. So we got our left with our seasoned tomatoes, olives, and onions and garlic there. We'll add in all of that orzo. Do have a little bit of sticking going on. Turn the pan on low heat here and give this all a nice toss together. All right. Stir ourselves up a little bit of this orzo, tomato, and olive. Gonna go a little heavier than I did on Wednesday here. I'm hungry, like I said, I skipped lunch. And then, the bestest fingering it, let's do so we got orzo pasta with chicken wing, chicken leg, and a chicken thigh. We got beautiful tasting Zinfandel to go along with that. I'm sorry, man. I should maybe loosen that a little bit. No, I probably should allow it so you can do at least a line of gaps. Anyways, thank you for the love tonight. Thank you guys for stopping by. Thanks to the hosts. I'm gonna go and enjoy all this loveliness. I hope you guys come back and join me on Sunday. I don't have exact plans yet for Sunday. I do hope to have rabbit and do rabbit stew. That is in my plans and on my info page down below. I have unfortunately procrastinated on that and do not know that I'm going to be able to find a rabbit for Sunday. So if I do, I will most certainly be doing rabbit stew, and I am going to be making an honest effort at that tomorrow. So either rabbit stew or an interesting surprise here on Sunday. Thank you for joining me this evening. You'll find pictures of this and all my other lovely foods on Instagram as posted in the chat. And hope you all have a lovely evening. I'm going to see if there's anyone to host this evening. And otherwise, I'll leave you with my lovely sideshow. Have a great night.